Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. Something's going on today. I don't know what it is, but everybody's out and about doing something, gathering in places. I can't find anything on television worth watching. If you're on YouTube, you're probably just running into all this strangeness and you want to just get away and, find out what happens later. If so, we're the place to go. Come here and we will get you out of that morass of whatever is fogging your mind, because tonight we're going to talk about the movies, and the movies have always been the place to go to when you want to just forget about everything for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And what's better than those teenage year movies? And so we have tonight Tara Johnson-Medinger or Medinger. See, I got the first name corrected. I didn't even ask about the second name because I was so messed up with my computer freaking out on me here and thinking, why am I not getting this to work right? Tara, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
yeah.
So we're going to give our one obeisance to the order of the day. Did you vote?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I did. I'm in Oregon and we vote by mail. And so I got my ballot over like 12 days ago or something like that and voted the next day and delivered it right to the county elections. And so, yes, so I've been eagerly awaiting tonight to find out what will happen. So.
Avoid that rush and just do it from home. Yes. So, yeah, tonight is the night to just do nothing and watch. I'm going to try and bring that up again and see if it bogs everything down. Hopefully it won't. I think I had a bunch of things going on. So my summer as a goth, that's it's the story of a high school girl. She's had a tragedy in her life. Her father has passed, and her mother is going to leave her at her grandmother's for a while she does her thing. Well, that's not to be dismissive. We'll just get to it kind of later on into the discussion here. And she finds a new lifestyle for herself. So let's start with that. I mean, obviously the title kind of gives it away.
Sure.
But what was driving all of this in your mind as you're putting this together?
So I get asked this a lot, and the first version of the script was delivered to me in 2009 and was written by my best friend from high school, Brandon Lee Roberts. And we came of age in the late 80s in Salem, Oregon. And, we're influenced by those coming of age films that were a big deal in the late 80s, like the John Hughes era coming of age films. And we took time to develop the script together over the years and really wanted to honor that, those sort of older teenage coming of age films, but also wanted to reflect more of the generation that is coming of age right now. And so we wanted to be a little smarter, fresher, making sure that we were infusing in things that were reflected of what teens are going through nowadays. And the alternative and goth communities were pretty important to us in those years coming of age in Salem. We always hung out downtown with all the kids in black and, drinking endless cups of coffee, and we walked the mall. And so we all kind of found each other. There's a line in the film that one of our characters, Antonio, has, and it's us freaks got to stick together. And so everyone just kind of found each other, and we were our community. And we wanted to capture that and pay respect to it in a way. And so that is a lot of the inspiration. There's a lot of our life in that film. There's some real, very real moments between Brandon and I that are in that film. And so that's sort of the beginning of it.
Did you read a lot of Neil Gaiman and Tanith Lee?
I have, but not recently. I've been very focused on, getting this out, right? So I feel like the pandemic has given me an opportunity in a way to catch up on a lot of TV shows and movies and books that I've really missed out on because being so focused on my own work, and which has been kind of nice, to explore some new content that's out there.
Yeah, I'm pandemic quarantined since March in the Critical Blast cave here for pretty much 15 hours a day to do work. So thankfully I got Netflix down here. I'm trying that out, and weirdly enough, for the past week, it has suggested to me to start binging House of Cards. So
oh my gosh,
that's what I'm watching during this week. I'm like, you know me so well, Netflix, and we've only known each other such a short time.
It's pretty dark. But I actually did finish that one, and I thought, the last season was pretty great. And but yes, I enjoyed that series when it was happening. But it's pretty dark.
So Joey has to go spend time with her grandparents. Her mother is an author, and a very well-known author, so she's going on book tour. And Joey, I guess, is sort of resentful that her mother is going on with her life with the death of her father being so recent. She wants mom to mope and mourn just the way she is. I haven't quite figured out how long ago the death has happened, but apparently it's recent enough that it's still painful to her.
In our timeline with the film, when we enter the film, we are upon Joey sort of on the last day of school, and things are very fresh in terms of losing her father, and you kind of see it within the last 3 months before we meet Joey that this has happened. So it is really recent. This book tour was planned and, is important for Carissa and her career. And, and I think that's something that is normal for Carissa to do, is go off on these book tours. But Dad has always been there to, be the primary parent. And now he's not. And so we're meeting Joey at this time in her life where she's really grieving. And she's, I would say, pushing away Carissa, her mother, because she isn't grieving in the same way. Carissa's not grieving in the same way. And Joey, I think, is abrasive to that and taking maybe a little bit of offense to that her mother is going to do this book tour, and that she's being sent to her grandparents. She thinks she's going to have this really crummy summer, and sort of being left behind. And but lo and behold, it turns out to be something very different for her.
Yeah, she I guess already being in sort of a mopey, abysmal attitude, an opportunity that would present itself when you run up against Goths would be very attractive. It's like, oh, you're all mopey, and misery loves company. So therefore she would gravitate.
Ironically, that's the title of Carissa's book. If you look closely, there's a scene where she's in the bookstore, and that's the title that we chose for her book. But I think that there's this. It's a little bit cliche to say all Goths are mopey and depressed, and because some of the happiest people I know are Goths, and are very much jovial and excited about life, and but everybody's an individual, right? So I would say that within the Goth community, there's an appreciation for the darker things in life, and Joey is very attracted to that in a way. I mean, we meet her, the first time we meet her in a cemetery, right? She's already experiencing that part of herself because she goes to visit her father. And so that doesn't feel out of place for her, but this kind of new lifestyle and seeing this very vibrant community is interesting to her. And I think it's an opportunity for her to like kind of slough off that persona of I'm the girl whose dad just died. And like, that's how she's been known for the last 3 months within her school community. And it's, you know, people are on eggshells walking around her, and she just wants to put that to the side and explore something different and really take a reprieve from all of that grief that she's experiencing. Not that she's escaping it, because it certainly comes back to visit her in a very deep way, but it is an opportunity to kind of to transform through this vehicle that is essentially presented to her.
Yeah, and I it's one of the things I liked most about the film was that you did have these goth characters who were very vibrant and exuberant about life. Of course, you know, you do have Victor, who is, you know, 2019's version of Oscar Wilde, and Pandora's just a bit. But you had Penn and Cod, who were just like love on each other. They are excited to go to picnics. They want to sit around the campfire and, you know, and talk happy things, even though they do like their Ouija board.
Yeah, they're kids. They're just like excited about life, and you know, and they're really grasping it and living it. And you know, Victor has a different kind of way of the way he presents himself. He's very much a narcissist, and you know, has a strong facade up around him. And there are friends with, you know, he hangs out with Penn and Cobb, which are, you know, these like great friends that like bring Joey right into their world and are excited and become fast friends. And but there's these other friends of Victor's that Joey meets that aren't so accepting. And you know, and that's a reflection of reality, right? Regardless if you're in the goth community or not. You know, that's part of being a teen, right? Where some people are just going to be automatic friends and, you know, maybe friends for life or best friends for just that summer. But then there are going to be people that you run up against that are just, you don't gel with. And, you know, Joey certainly encounters that during the summer.
And I didn't ask. I assumed that Penn and Cobb were names they'd given themselves to describe their relationship, that they weren't born with those names?
Correct. Yeah. They're swan.
Okay. So they are swan. So
they're swan.
I'm going to try once more, share this screen, and see if we can actually have this thing happen. The share screen is not okay. And it's just way too long. I don't know why. I don't have anything else running. That's so strange. I don't know what. Oh, there it's coming up now. Okay. Because I would really like to play people. Are we seeing it yet? There we go. There we go. So,
what we've got here is failure to communicate.
I can't hear you, RJ.
that one's on me. I muted myself to play this.
All right.
And I didn't.
Did it play? I couldn't see
what's
it.
Happening. I've shared videos all the time. But it did not want to share this time, so I do not know what it is. Folks, mysummerasAgoth.com. Go out there. You can see the video stream right there if you click trailer. It's a great movie. Where is this movie showing now? Because with theaters, in the situation they're in, what's the best way for people to see My Summer as a Goth?
So we entered our distribution deal earlier in the year before everything started shutting down, and the intention was to release it in May in theaters. And I was really excited about that. We did a hefty festival run in 2019, and I was able to travel a lot and be with the film in front of live audiences. And that was a really cool way to experience the film. And so I was excited for that to happen. And it, would have been a limited theatrical and then moved to digital. But as everything started to shut down in early April, my distributor and I were talking like, this is going to become very unpredictable. And if theaters, completely go down, like just finding space in the theater world is challenging, because there's a lot of, bigger budget Hollywood films that would, want to use screens to push out their films. And as we've seen over the months, a lot of those have been delayed, or, they made the decision to go digital with certain films that would have been, the typical big blockbusters over the summer. So we opted to go straight to digital platforms. And I think that was a really great decision. I'm a purist, I'm a cinephile. I would have loved to have the theatrical run, but really in reality, this is the best way to get to a wider audience. And so here in the United States, it will be, you can already get it on Vudu and Fandango. You can pre-order it. And it will also be up on iTunes and Amazon Prime. And there's a bunch of them, like a lot of different platforms that are new to me, Kaleidoscape. And then it's also going to be shown internationally. So it'll be in Canada and Ireland, the UK. It just sold to the Philippines and Singapore, and I believe it's out in Russia. So there's all these countries that it's going
all of them
into.
get seen on big screen.
Yeah, well, I don't know that it won't go down big screen, but it'll go digital there as well. So, I think that worldwide, like every country is facing the shutdowns of theaters, and and the challenges of having lots of people indoors for films. So, yeah, it's exciting that it's finally here. It's going to be available officially if you don't do the pre-order on November 11th. I keep checking every day on all the platforms that we're supposed to be on, just so I can have those links ready to go. I personally just pre-ordered it a few days ago on Vudu, and that was a bizarre experience to, pre-order your own movie for the first time. So
I like books, so I know what that's like to have to go to Amazon to get copies of my own book.
Right. So yeah, so it's going to be coming out kind of a wide release, and then we'll see what happens after that. And whether we do like Blu-rays and things like that, or looking at what the marketplace is interested in terms of that. We also have some merchandise available on our website, and we have a soundtrack that is available through Bandcamp, and that was a lot of fun to put together as well.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go check that out, because I did like the songs that were playing in there.
Thank you.
Now, and I think we have a link in our description. I was trying to verify that, but my technology is not cooperating with me today. Even my phone wouldn't show me my video on here. But I think we have a link to the Amazon version of it, the Amazon Prime stream.
Okay.
So so anybody, click that in the description when you're done watching this. Go watch something to take up your time here. I was going to say that I know that you mentioned a lot of the big budget films are pushing off their releases. I know Wonder Woman 84 demands to be in a theater. I think the new James Bond film keeps getting pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that this is actually helping a lot of the indie films who, they have to survive, so they've got to get out there. So they're taking the streaming option, but there's less competition in streaming right now with the big budget blockbusters. Is that true, false? I mean, can you gauge that?
I think it's a yes and no. I mean, there is a lot of content out there, and but we also saw a significant shutdown in production there for a while. Like a lot of shows that are created for streaming platforms like Hulu and Amazon, some of those have been able to get back up because they have, even though they may be like a lower budget television series, they were able to budget in like all the PPE and COVID testing and things like that to make sure that the cast and crew are safe. So I know a lot of folks here in Portland. We have a big indie film scene, and a lot of people have gone back into productions at various levels of keeping everyone safe. As far as I know, everyone is really trying to make that possible. So I think that there was so much content to begin with that I don't know if we'll see a slowdown necessarily. Like, I think that there is the hope in the indie community that there's going to be an opening up for films like My Summer as a Goth or other independent films to kind of rise up a little bit and be able to capture some of that digital space. I think that could happen. A lot of it comes down to marketing, and a lot of those independent films don't have publicists or a marketing team that's behind it, really pushing that out to the audience. So you're making sure that people know about it, right? You could spend all this time making a movie, but then if you don't have a proper marketing strategy or a publicist, and you're able to do interviews like I'm doing with you right now, not everybody gets that, and they may be on a digital platform, but then it's the attracting the audience to it, which is challenging, right? And so I think that a lot of us are trying to figure it all out.
Your publicists are doing a great job.
What's that?
Your publicists are doing a great job because they're sending us all kinds of things to watch now that we weren't seeing before.
Right.
And the lesson that, as a review site, as thecriticalblast.com, the hub of all our business, it's a lesson I have to keep learning because I keep wanting to gravitate toward look, the new Harry Potter movie is out. Obviously, we should, focus on this because that's what everybody wants. And what I keep forgetting is that the movie that 50 million people are going to watch is going to get reported on by 8,000 sites and watered down. Exactly. But the movie that 100,000 people will watch won't get reported on except maybe in a dozen places, and all 100,000 of them will funnel in. So instead of getting 500 reviews for Harry Potter, I can get 20,000 for, My Summer as a Goth.
Right.
And from a business perspective, from my end, is why am I not focusing more on the indie market? Because they have a more faithful following.
Well, and I think that that's all of our hope. Other peers of mine that are directors that are in the process of releasing films on their own right now. Some of them have publicists, some of them don't. And it's challenging because I think we're all, even though we can have access now, we're all, in general, everyone is connected or has access to some sort of Amazon or Netflix or something like that. It doesn't, there's a lot of fatigue around that too, right? I mean, we all feel it, right? The whole new Zoom fatigue and staring at a screen all day. And then you're like, oh, I just want to have a break. And your only break is staring at a screen again. It's so you're battling that too. And I also work in the film festival world, and I've seen quite a bit of film festivals transferring into a virtual space, which is really awesome. but now we're all crowded in a virtual space. And so it's tricky. And I think it's an opportunity to reinvent how we consume media and what kind of media we consume, because, like you said, like you're interested in talking with an independent filmmaker and seeing what could happen there. So maybe we'll get some more airtime in terms of interviews and getting our projects out there to the public that may otherwise have not seen it. It's an opportunity to kind of change the way we make media too. Like there's some systems in place that are, built on very old models and in terms of production and how things are done. And I think it's going to shake that, system up a little bit, which I'm excited about, like in terms of who is behind the camera, who is driving the, sorry, my cat just walked through, just a tail could go through. So, those are things that I'm really excited about, because I've been in media for a very long time. My entire career, I went to film school and I started working in television, and then, eventually found myself in the producer's chair, and then now into the director's chair. So I think that I'm excited to see what this next level of creation of projects is going to look like, and who those storytellers are. I mean, I think that within the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a shakeup that, feels significant, but is still kind of like the beginnings of things where
Right.
women are, entering the director's chair in, I don't want to say at a faster rate, but like in an increased rate in terms of films and in television, and people of color. And there's more representation behind the camera than there ever, I think, has been in the past. But it's still slow. It's a slow burn. But I think that this is an opportunity to kind of reevaluate that on a deeper level than we ever have been able to before.
Well, in terms of production, a lot of the times now that I'm getting to watch a lot of independent films, and it's not that I didn't watch them before, it's that I'm getting them at a higher rate now. Especially if it's something that relies on special effects, you can see where the budget runs out.
Yes.
With something with My Summer as a Goth, where you don't have to worry about the special effects of some things, you have to green screen a bunch of stuff. It's literally character driven. You get something that doesn't really look as independent budget as a lot of other films might. For those who haven't seen My Summer as a Goth yet, what you basically got here is the equivalent of a John Hughes film with characters who want to be goth. It's a teenage love story. It's a coming of age story, and it's extremely well acted. It's extremely well directed and performed.
Thank you.
So I would not have expected this to have been really an independent film if it had just shown up in the theaters next to any of the others that were coming out from major studios. It was like, yeah, oh, of course, look at the poster, watch the film. It's meant to be a big budget film, or at least a big house film.
I always say that I kind of broke every rule in independent filmmaking. Like, you're only supposed to have like a tiny little cast and like one location and a very tiny crew, and I just like obliterated that. And I had this huge cast and lots of hair and makeup, and our crew was significant. Of course, there were times where we felt like we didn't have enough people because there were scenes that really demanded a lot of crew to pull it off. And then sometimes, like, there was a lot to manage. Like, there's a party scene towards the end of the film where almost every single cast member is there, plus extras. And so even just like figuring that out in my mind, how to block it and move the characters around in the space was challenging. And I think that, it's a real testament. You were saying it felt like a bigger budget film, and It does, considering how much we actually did spend. That's a real testament to the people that I was able to bring in that were, my two cinematographers were outstanding, two women that, put some beautiful shots on screen. We had great folks in the grip and electric department that, really made the lighting just sing and match the mood. I think that we really pushed the limits of what we wanted to do. And since I've been doing this for a number of years as a producer, I've had the opportunity to work with some directors that I really admire, that I have seen like push forward like their visual storytelling and make sure that they're getting what they want on screen. And that's something that I wanted to do as well. And also doing this a little bit later in my career, entering the director's chair, I've had a big opportunity to look at a lot of things and say, that's not what I want to do. Like, some pitfalls that independent filmmakers can fall into. And because I'm pretty, entrenched in the Portland film community, I had a huge amount of support in terms of like the camera house that supplied us with all the camera gear, the grip and electric house that supplied us with all the, the truck and all the bells and whistles and lights and flags and all the things that you need to pull something like this off. And I just had this village that came forward to really support us. And because everyone believed in the script. And as we were moving forward and beginning to like cut things together, I even got more support, because once you're done rolling camera, it's not over. Like your crew leaves and your cast moves on to, everybody moves on to other projects. But as the director, you're really like sitting with a pile of footage that it's on you to like start going through and start putting this film together. So post-production for us took another year. And my editor, who I worked with, Emily Von W. Gilbert, she and I have worked on other projects together and have a really good rapport. So working with her to craft the edit was awesome. We just sat in a room, we would talk a lot, and, she would propose some things, audition some things. We go this way, we go that way. And it was exciting to kind of to land at something pretty quickly. And we were able to test that out to some trusted filmmakers here that, have gone through this process of doing their own narrative filmmaking. And I received their feedback, which was so like, I was really appreciative of that, because, I wanted to make a good film to put out there. But, then there's so many layers to filmmaking, because, after we finish the edit, it's all about putting that sound design together and the Foley work. And before we went live, we were talking about how we had a loop troupe come in to do those when you look on IMDb and you see additional voices,
right,
that is actually a person that comes in after the fact. You do a playback with a group of people and they mimic the like talking that's happening in a larger scene with a crowd scene or something. And so we had Rebel Loop here in Portland come in and we did several nights with them, and we'd record those sessions, and then they would be layered into the soundtrack. That's one thing that I think that was highly important and is important in independent filmmaking that is sometimes really neglected, is audio. And I loved doing sound design. Like post-production in general was awesome for me. Like I loved production. That was, because we're all together. But post-production is really cool, because you get to like really you tweak things, see what you like. So sound design, putting together the score and the soundtrack, and then you go into color, and that's all amazing. And even though like, yeah, we didn't have huge pyrotechnics or any, big special effects, we still had what is called digital cleanup to do. So there's like lots of shots where we had to, stabilize a shot or, take something out of a scene because we just didn't have the footage. So there was a lot behind there that, sometimes isn't possible. And I just had great friends that had this talent that I was like, I'm always willing to ask, right? Like, hey, would you be willing to, lend a few hours to help with this? This is exactly what I need. And, people step forward and lended their talents. And, we were able to do this on a very slim budget. We have a tremendous amount of animation in the film. And, that was a whole other layer that was added in post-production. So there was a lot in there that kind of built up the project to make it feel more grand, even outside of the production of the film.
Now, I missed the animation. Where was that in the credits or the?
Yeah, there's an animation sequence at the beginning of the film. That's the opening title sequence, and then all the texting messages, all of that is animation. Like
that's right. Okay, because I don't think of that as being animations. You're like, of course, the text bubble will pop up wherever I walk around, showing what's on my phone. It looks so real.
Right.
A lot of that, so
a lot of animation.
I'm just used to seeing it in comic books too. It's like somebody's holding the phone here. There's a text bubble. Of course, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and I think as viewers, we're certainly more used to seeing that now because it's kind of where we are in terms of storytelling. And I always wanted that to appear on screen versus like having the character look at a telephone or a screen or a computer or something. So even in production, we made sure to frame everything that we knew that would have texting like kind of floating up through the scene. So, we would make sure to frame the actor in a certain way to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot of forward thinking too, when you're in production to think about what you need to do in post-production and how your edit is going to come together.
Planning ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate the movies where there's like, you get a text on your phone and they just show the phone and I'm 53. I'm like, okay, what's the phone say?
Right.
Pause that and blow it up. but the fact that I didn't even think about that being animation, the more unobtrusive and jarring something like that is, it's naturally accepted. It just shows that you did the right work on it. And if you do a good job, nobody notices or thinks about the fact that, hey, that's animation.
Right.
You don't want them thinking that's really good animation they did there.
It really is part of the story. And as I was talking with the illustrator who, Joey has a sketchbook that she's always sketching in, and he had done all of the sketches for the film. And he's someone that I've known for a long time, Dan Schaefer. He's a storyboard artist and, works for a lot of the big shows that shoot in Portland and movies. And he and I, he did a bunch of storyboards for me for certain scenes that I just needed to kind of work out on paper before we went into production. And he also did all the sketches in Joey's sketchbook, but we talked about how to bring that like another layer of the film was that all of that animation was informed by Joey's sketchbook. And so we wanted it to have that look and feel of like it was on paper. And so that's why it has like a hand-drawn vibe to it. Like all the texting has a hand-drawn vibe. And then all the opening title sequence and the end credit sequence, there's a lot of animation in both of those, and it's all like kind of taking from Joey's world. So and so that was fun to think about too, is like, it's kind of like you make your pie and then you want to decorate it, right? Or your cake, and it's like being able to kind of add those things that feel like they should have always been there, and they complete it in this lovely way.
Yeah. One of the other things I liked about My Summer as a Goth is that once Joey is into the goth scene, that's not consuming the whole movie. That, okay, it's all goth from here on in. You have all these other cliques, I would guess, or social groups, whatever. You've got punks, you've got her grandparents and their friends who are normal, but almost sort of like Church of the Subgenius, give me slack kind of people.
Yeah.
She got cool grandparents who still want to enforce rules.
Right.
Like, I'm smoking my pot, be home by 10.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They keep kind of a long leash on her, but there are many voices of reason in Joey's world throughout this summer, but Margaret and Joseph, her grandparents, certainly are a big one. And, they want her to experience her life and live her life and kind of learn from her. I don't want to say mistakes, but just like experiences, learn from her experiences. And instead of like, clamping down and, telling her she can't do certain things, like they're ex-hippies. They really have I think even more of an understanding than her mom does that she needs to go through this. And that they're going to be there to catch her, to support her, and to guide her in a way that, sometimes you see like in other films where a teenager may not have that. And, and so they're really forced to kind of make these decisions on their own. But, the grandparents really kind of gently guide her throughout the film without forcing her hand.
Yeah. All the different groups in there, they got just the right amount of friction, as you would expect to exist between, competing social groups. But it's not, the Sharks versus the Jets when it's the Goth.
Right.
There's friction, there's a fight, but then there's also interaction. The grandparents are, the grandma's like saying, you have to start listening to me. You have to come home. But then there's like, you're going to go play bingo with us. Bring your friends. Yeah. We're going on a camping trip together. So,
right.
One thing.
They're living their life. Their granddaughter is coming to live with them for the summer, but they're going to continue to live their life. And, they want Joey to come along with them for, a lot of fun things. And I think in this unexpected way, Joey has a lot of fun with them.
Oh, yeah, she definitely does, especially when she, plays her first big game of bingo.
Yes.
One of the characters, you had the punk community in there as well, and whereas you can usually tell a goth by appearance because of the makeup, reapply. Whenever I think of the punk community, and maybe this is just because I was a child of the '80s and such, you're thinking mohawk and neon hair and piercings. Antonio just looks like a guy. But, everyone knows
it's pretty subtle. Yeah. I think that, there is that option of like, should we really push it and, go for a mohawk and, piercings and things like that. And, we wanted it to be more subtle. I think that, there are some folks that really go to a more extreme, even in the goth community, but I think there are plenty of people that identify as alternative and goth or punk that, kind of look pretty normal and by today's standards, right? In the 80s, it was, if you even wore eyeliner, cat eye eyeliner, you were considered alternative. And, nowadays, not so much, it's very normalized. And, so we wanted to bring a softer edge to Antonio. He definitely is a punk, and identifies that way. And, you get this opportunity to meet him in one way, and then we kind of pepper him throughout the film, and then some things change with him. I don't want to give anything away, but there's a different side of Antonio than when we first meet him. And, I've always said that I really look forward if we ever have an opportunity to go further with like a series or another film or something with these characters, that it would be a lot of fun to explore Antonio's character a little more, as well as Victor's character, because this is Joey's story, right? This is the vehicle to tell her story. And with, a lot of cast there wasn't an opportunity to dive deeper in some ways into some of the characters.
And yet, even though you couldn't with so many characters, enough characters experienced growth and change that it wasn't just Joey's growth and change story.
Right.
Even though she's the central focus. You have Antonio growing and changing, Penn and Cobb grow and change. Joey's friend from school before she went to summer.
Molly. Yeah.
Molly, she learned some acceptance things. And of course, Victor learns that he doesn't have to be, he doesn't get to be loved by everybody all the time. Best scene in the whole thing is when Joey recognizes some respect for her mother.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm not going to say any more about that because it really just spoils the best scene.
Right. Well, I'll say one thing about that scene that doesn't give it away, but when we were filming that scene, let's just say our crew erupted in applause after the first take. So, yeah.
That was a well-deserved laying of the smackdown.
Right.
So Carissa's exposition there was just spot on and perfect, and it communicated to Joey that, hey, yeah, we've been having trouble. You've been smarting off to me and ignoring me. I'm still your mom. I still love you. I've got your back, and I'm standing up for you.
Right.
This would make a great series. You probably couldn't call it My Summer as a Goth because summer's over, but it could rival something like My So-Called Life. That kind of a angst drama. My senior year.
We're exploring it. Yeah, we're exploring that idea. We'll see what happens. I think that, a lot of it is based on how well the film's received and, and how many times people watch it. And, I'm excited about that part. And I would completely jump at the opportunity to work with this cast again. And, a lot of them were teenagers when we worked with them. We filmed in 2016 and 2017, and and now they're off as young adults and college and living in LA and New York and doing lots of different exciting things. And I think that they would be interested in coming back and kind of seeing where those characters are and in a different time frame. And so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, happy Goths, somewhat normal-looking punks, hippie grandparents, and a conservative, successful mom. Everything you can think of is in this movie. It's a wonderful watch. The link to the Amazon Prime link should be below in the description. If not, then it means that Amazon didn't have it available when I set the stream up, and I will fix that. Be sure to pop by criticalblast.com and check out our review of that, into which we will embed this video. So if you're watching it on the site, you've already read it and got down to this part. Want to remind you folks that throughout the week, we will be doing more reviews online here on stream. And I check my little black book, literally little black book. I do not use a PDA or anything like that. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we will have Jake Horowitz, Alexander Oliver, and Storm Steenson on to talk Cup of Cheer as the Hallmark Christmas movie finally gets skewered the way that it deserves. Then after that, we will have Darcy Weir with Sasquatch Among Wild Men. And then Friday, They Reach with Silas Dahl, Mary Madeline Rowe, Eden Campbell, and James Winter. And then, of course, we will be back on Saturday for our every other Saturday, the LCS Guys show to talk local comic shop owners. Political comics will be the theme of the week since it's election week. Sorry, you thought you're going to get through the whole stream without me mentioning it. I mentioned it once. Tara, thank you so much for coming on the stream tonight and talking to us about your movie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I wish you the best of success with it, and I look forward to seeing more work from you.